Speaking of greater good, what should be open sourced? Like you brought up HTTP and whatever the other one was, which were great internet protocols where the creators essentially earned absolutely no money. And yet at
Yeah.
the same time, how do we think about that in terms of the biotech industry going forward?
Well, I think that the key challenge there is around publishers, right? And the control of the articles. So when you think about intellectual property, I mean, the patents, when you patent something, right? I'm on the IP, so my background as a lawyer. When you patent something, the idea is that you have a certain exclusivity for a certain amount of time, and then in exchange, you release it, right? So essentially most of the technology, so Google's PageRank algorithm, for example, right? And that's out there. And you can think about the same thing for biology. So the papers, especially the papers, right? The IP is IP, but the papers themselves, for that to be accessible to everyone in an easier fashion, is definitely where we should be trending and what we should be discussing, right? So like open publications and sort of open sourcing those data sets that enable the research so that others can leverage that. So that a lot of that is out there and happening, and there's a lot of cross pollination and collaboration across scientists. The key challenge is around some of the access to the papers for those from outside academic institutions or may not have access to the publishers themselves.
Also, what gets published? So you look at big pharma and they'll take a drug, they'll try to guess what it does. They'll test out people to find the perfect people for the test. They'll run 4 tests. One of them will be successful. So that's the only one they publish. How do you think about the ethics? Typically, the pharma industry has been incredibly dirty and mercenary. How do you think about the biotech industry to avoid making those mistakes while still making money?
So I think on the biotech side, I mean, it's a huge, massive sort of global industry, and I think we can go into like all of it. But the sort of bite-sized version of that is that a lot of the industry understands that a lot of the innovation is happening outside of their core research facilities, right? So if you think about kind of what they're focused on in research is, et cetera, and kind of where they're focusing research is, they understand now that they need to partner with startups and companies to be able to access some of that core innovation, and then for them to focus on what they do best, right, which is sort of scaling up those kinds of operations and other aspects of that research and industrial R&D and some of those aspects. So it's really around collaboration and improving and streamlining more about how that process works, which a lot of them are moving in that direction, right? We talk about New York and Silicon Valley elsewhere, where you have a lot of these programs coming online to facilitate that, like the J Labs, right? We have strong collaborations between industry and startups for the purposes of these startups to leverage corporate resources, and it works the other way around. IndieBio, right, which is opening a new campus in New York, Creative Destruction Labs opening a campus in New York with collaboration with NYU, I believe. So those are happening where the industry understands that there's a huge opportunity for doing more collaboration, and the startups, their ethos is around sharing, right, and collaborating. It's a lot of that sort of pay forward mentality, but there's obviously a long way to go. And in terms of having better access to everything for everyone at all times, it's a tricky space to navigate.
What about